So Anthony Fantano, he is getting into some trouble recently with Kanye stans, because of course. So Kanye came out with a new album called Vultures. I have not listened to it. At least from what I've heard from other people who aren't you know, Kanye stans. It's not a good album. Isn't really not, which isn't surprising. A lot of his music recently has not been great, but I heard this one was not good. So I didn't really care to listen to it. I think I stopped listening to Kanye probably around 2016. Because before that, I wouldn't say I was a big fan, but I was definitely a fan of his work. But apparently it wasn't good. It really wasn't. I remember he did there was like a crazy rant he went on during the drop party that went viral because it was like the biggest thing Kanye did ever since the whole love Hitler stuff when he went on a what's Alex Jones' show called? What is it called? I'm honestly forgetting what it's called. And said that he loved Hitler. Like ever since then, he kind of dropped off, and that was like probably the first time in a while that he ever really popped back up. But now we have this video. I think he's just been. I think the reason he made this video is probably because he's been getting harassed by Kanye stans to just talk about it.
This is completely unreviewable trash, and here's why. Question: what is even the purpose of a music review in the first place? I can say, at least in terms of my own intent, that when I do a music review, I hope to achieve a couple of things. One, give the viewer pause and cause them to think about why it is they do or don't like the piece of music or art that I'm doing an overview of. Or two, excite people to give the music that I'm talking about a try. Those are the two things I want to do. Problem: neither of those goals are possible in any scenario that involves reviewing this album. Newsflash: since 2022, Kanye has made it his mission to go full-on anti-Semite, spouting insane conspiracy theories, talking about how he loves Hitler, and at some point
Didn't he have like a chart of like people who own certain businesses, people who own some of the biggest companies in the world, and were like speculating whether or not they were Jewish. I might, I, I remember it was definitely like he had like a graph or something like that. And it was just like a list of people that may or may not have been Jewish. Like I don't know. Like it was weird. Like he definitely went off the fucking deep end.
I mean, you platformed a booger-eating white supremacist and have guys like this repping for you on a highway overpass. This is not a can of worms a guy like Kanye is capable of closing, not without help from someone who is willing to tell him no. But he spent this same period of time pushing away anybody who could possibly do that at this point, especially his wife, who he has now replaced with somebody who he just like kind of parades around like she's a naked body with no personality, opinion, or voice. Something that on some level I think
that's all. Yeah, that's something else that's been going on too. He I don't know if they're married or they're just dating, but like he got like a new girl who like barely wears any clothes. At first I thought it was a at first I thought it was like just a rumor, but then I think there was actually like a public image of them outside. And it was like Kanye was dressed head to toe and she was barely wearing anything.
he's weirdly proud of, as on the very lyrics to this record, he calls her just a reference, which is maybe one of the grossest and most dehumanizing things Kanye has said about a woman on any of his songs, and it's being directed at his wife. So this trajectory Kanye has been on as of late has left him with an interesting mix of fans. One, hateful psychos that actually agree with some of the stuff that he's been saying, and are actually in my Twitter mentions theorizing that I'm a Jew, and that's the reason I don't really like his recent music. Two,
Oh, there was a tweet that also, I don't know if viral is the right term. 21K likes. Anthony Fantano meet and greet. I don't think I really need to say anything about what's going on with the video. Yeah, the tweet went viral, 21K likes. Over music opinions. Over opinions on music. I don't even know if this is really only Kanye stans either, or just Kanye fans. I feel like this is probably just it's weird music nerds who have no other life outside of like the artists that they attach themselves to. Yeah, this definitely came out because like this guy definitely made the tweet because of the Kanye stuff. It comes out right at the same time.
Anonymous nihilistic teenagers that don't really think anything he says or does has any greater consequence in the world, and are most likely bored and lonely and will just defend Kanye because watching him unravel is more entertaining than most things, and I guess brings some kind of meaning to their otherwise meaningless lives. And three, cultish weirdos who parasocially obsess over him and everything he does, and would basically follow him to the ends of the earth. Keep in mind, these individuals have always been in his fan base to some degree, but prior they were at least mixed in with genuine hip hop heads. Now, these three types of people, and there is overlap between them in Kanye's
Mm-hmm.
fan base, don't want to hear anything critical about him at all, ever. They've openly rejected any good faith effort I've made to make them aware of Kanye's downward spiral into Nazi adjacent rhetoric and now imagery in the promotion of this record. The point is, there's no hope of having any level headed conversation with somebody who is like deep into the Kanye fandom at this point. People who literally think anything and everything he does is great and will write off any bit of dissent as just being biased and unfair to him, as if he's Jesus Christ and can do no
I'm the new Jesus bitch, ha! I turn water into Christ.
wrong. So, yeah, there's no convincing them, which I will say is also the case for people who have left the Kanye reservation over the past several years, because there are a fair share of people who are validly pissed off about everything Kanye's been saying and doing recently, and feel like it's totally beyond the pale, and even if this record was somehow good, what am I supposed to do? Tell the Jews in my audience, aw, come on, man, he didn't mean it, it's not so bad, he's just a little crazy, that's all. Especially since he's not doing anything to gain forgiveness. He is very apparently not sorry for anything he's been saying or doing. And the apologies he has given aren't worth a lick of shit, because he'll think nothing of saying Jesus Christ, Hitler, yay, sponsor that, not too long after. Now, there are some people who will say, Anthony, you're being unfair here. Separate the art from the artist. Come on now. You can't separate this crap from the music because it's in the music. Look at the lyrics. Read these words. They have meaning and they are saying things that are not good or normal. You would have to expect me to separate my brain from my skull if you think I'm just going to ignore it. I think this comment here pretty much sums things up. We don't care as long as the album is good. His personality and what he says doesn't matter to me. I only care about the music. How do you penetrate this level of self-imposed ignorance?
Yeah, because, well, the thing about music is obviously it's an art. And when someone makes art, they're imposing their personality and who they are as a person into it. So obviously you do have to take that into effect. Now, here's the thing. I for one, I'm not like against having problematic faves. I have problematic faves. Like people who I really like, whether it's music, whether it's, just, actors, anyone who makes art. There are people who I like who are very or somewhat problematic. But at the same time, it's I don't know. Because I don't want to excuse certain stuff that people do, but there is levels to it. There is definitely, different. I don't know, like because it's really a problem talking about this. Because do I think you can like someone's? Do you think I can? Do you think you can separate the art from the artist? Yes, but there is a certain point where you can't do that anymore, and it is different for a lot of people. So it is kind of subjective, but if you're excusing Nazi shit, white supremacist shit, like very racist shit, it's it's not a good look on you. And that's something you will have to come to terms with. Like it's not everyone else's fault that you are allowed to excuse this. I'm not saying you can't listen to old Kanye music. I do sometimes. And that might be, a certain line for people like, oh, you still listen to his older stuff. You're bad and you're gross. But I'm not doing it to support him. I'm doing it mostly because I liked his music and I'm able to separate that era of Kanye from this. But like, yeah, I wouldn't listen to Vultures. First of all, again, even though I haven't listened to it, I've heard it's terrible from multiple people who have told me. But also, like, yeah, I don't want to ingest art that is clearly tied with his anti-Semitism and his white supremacist views. Like, obviously, I don't. And yes, before anyone leaves a comment, you can be black and have similar views of a white supremacist, or be a white supremacist while being black. It's not, it's not a, you know, you don't have to be white to be a white supremacist. Um, what else? I mean, if you want evidence in media, you could, I mean, in real life, you could look at like Clarence Howard, Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court Justice, and if you want like an example in media, who was that guy in Django Unchained, played by Samuel L. Jackson? Kind of like that, like a Uncle Ruckus, a little bit, an Uncle Ruckus type. Even though it is, I think with Uncle Ruckus, it's a little bit different. I haven't watched too much of the Boondocks to really know. Yeah, like going back to problematic faves, you can have them. Like again, I still listen to Kanye, but I don't like preach his message. I'm not for his message, and I'm also not listening to his new stuff where that is heavily affecting his art. But at the same time, I feel like there's definitely a difference between me and other people like me, because I'm 100% sure I'm not the only one who still listens to his older stuff. But there's definitely a difference between people who listen to his older stuff while still being aware of what he's doing is still bad, while people who are championing him and all the stuff that he talks about. Like, I feel like, I don't know. Again, talking about problematic faves, it's pretty weird. Because, like, it's a messy topic, but at the same time, like, there's a difference between liking someone despite them being problematic and then, liking someone because they're problematic or not caring that they're problematic.
Person is not listening to Kanye. He's not listening to anything I or anyone has to say about Kanye. And this comment was posted after the album was released, so he's apparently not even listening to the content of the music that he supposedly cares so much about. So this argument about, I only care about the music, can't possibly be true. Especially since the music too is shit. The song Paid is one of the most unintentionally hilarious tracks I think Kanye has ever put out. It's just a crappier version of Fade. Why wouldn't you just listen to Fade? You'd have to be delusional to think anything else, especially with this trash-ass verse from Ye. And Ty Dolla $ign on it is just amazing, saying that he's just here to get paid. At least he's honest. Then Back to Me with that Jay and Silent Bob chorus has to be one of the dumbest things I've heard on any Kanye album ever. I feel like I'm being punked. But naked, beautiful, big titty bitches don't just fly into the sky, At least Freddie Gibbs somehow made it flow, but yeah, that dude is as good as he is at rapping, he cannot save this track. Then Hood Rat has maybe one of the most excruciatingly bad instrumentals on any Kanye album ever. The mix is a mess, and God, those repetitions of Hood Rat, Hood Rat, Hood Rat, Hood Rat. I mean, I guess it kind of drowns out all the other stuff about the track, so that's kind of a silver lining. But almost none of that matters because there is so little to praise with this record. And if Kanye's delusional fans are not hearing that this record is awful on its face as they just kind of listen to it by themselves, nothing I'm going to say is going to convince them. But if you really want a general assessment of this thing, it sounds like a slightly more finished Donda 2. Somehow Jesus is King had more songs on it that sounded more cohesive, well put together, which is saying something because that was previously Kanye's shortest, messiest, most unhinged and crappy record yet, and somehow this surpassed it. And at least in my mind, has achieved the status of being Kanye's worst album. And given that the sequel tends to be a step down from the original in Kanye's case most of the time, the rest of the Vultures series from this point is not looking good. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, so this all came about because people were getting mad at him for not even reviewing the album, but he does. He does at the end of it, at least. It's just like, it's not good. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. There's something about like Kanye fans and how delusional they are. It's just really gross. Kanye also got interviewed by TMZ. It was like at a airport, I think, or I don't know. We'll just watch it. Because they do ask him about Palestine, and his response is pretty funny.
What's up, my guy? It's good to see you.
You know what it is? We won.
Hey, congrats.
We won. That's it. We did number one. Number one, all over the world. You know what it is?
I heard you made $19 million off that Super Bowl ad too.
Well, the people have always wanted that, you know. And I went to different companies, and they would never let me bring it like that. It was always ways that they were blocking us from hitting the prices. So I had to leave from those companies, and you know, I was two months. I'm gonna just be honest with y'all. I was 2 months from going bankrupt.
Really?
And I put everything I had into it. We moved to Italy. We moved to the factories, and we survived. We survived through the cancellation. We're back number one.
Do you think the controversy helped you?
It wasn't about the controversy. It was about the ability to say how you felt out loud. And if I didn't have the various skill sets of music and clothing and the fan base, they would have been able to destroy me. But because we had all those skill sets, somehow I'm here inside of this universe, able to fight.
You can't be destroyed, it would appear.
Thank you. Love you. I love all the people that support it. And you know what I'm saying? We needed to have something that was Apple level. You know, where's the Apple level? It's just me and my bro Elon. That's it. You know what I'm saying?
Some of the
What the fuck is he saying?
We number one.
Right.
We number one. You know, everything that they did only helped us. I like it. Remove us. I like simplification. Streaming platforms is bullshit to the artists anyway. Really? Spotify would give us $500 million between all of us and say, work it out amongst yourselves. I'm like, what about Adele? What about Drake? What about Weeknd? What about Taylor Swift? What about me? They like, no. Doesn't matter how much any of y'all stream. Y'all got to work that $500 million. A $500 million? A $500 million? That's what streaming companies think of us as the musicians, and all the label owners just hand it over.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
We ain't on that, bro. As long as I breathe, I'm here for all of my artists, all of my peers, and all the people.
Unless they're Jewish. But, like, that's the thing about this, too, is that outside of everything else, he's right about, like, the streaming platforms. They don't treat artists well. That's the thing. Like, which sucks because streaming is, like, the most popular form of listening to music. Like, no one really goes out of their way to buy stuff anymore. That's like I did a video about Ben Shapiro and Tom McDonald's rap video. And in that song, they do a whole thing of, like, let's get this song to a Billboard #1. And I said in that video, like, Billboard doesn't really matter in terms of, like, you know, best selling, like, who's buying it, because, like, nobody really buys music anymore. So it's not a good, you can't exactly measure that in terms of how well it's doing, especially when in the song they are literally trying to advertise to their audience to go buy their music, which probably works well for them because I'm not sure how it goes in terms of that, but I think it's more money towards, it's like a better avenue for money. But at the same time, when someone in a song is begging you to get them to a Billboard #1, you can't exactly look at that and be like, oh, that's like, oh, it's just a really good song. It's just really popular. No, it's like that Sound of Freedom movie that came out, like, I don't know, maybe a year ago. I forget when it came out. It was like a whole thing where they were like, people were like, oh my god, this thing is blowing up at the box office, but it was because literally at the end of the movie, they asked people who saw the movie to buy a ticket to, you know, for some, you know, for the next person, like, pay it forward. But really, it was just so they could make their movie look, it's just so that they could make it look like their movie was more successful than it actually was. Like, but going back to, you know, streaming platforms, they do treat their artists like shit. And that's the thing. But it's also, like, the most popular form of listening to music now. It's just streaming it through, like, Spotify or other avenues. But yeah, outside of literally everything else, he's right about this. And that's sort of the problem when it comes to, like, conspiracy heads. Is that sometimes they'll look at stuff that is true. Like, they'll look at stuff that is a problem, but because they're brain broken, they'll always go to one one, it always go back to their perceived notion of how the world works, like their messed up view of the world. So yeah, he doesn't like streaming platforms for a good reason, but he probably thinks it's because of Jewish people, which is a bad reason. Like he's right about streaming platforms not being great for artists. But I think the problem is that now I don't really remember this interview. I saw it a little bit ago, so I don't know if he really brings up Jewish people, at least with the streaming platform stuff. But he does think that like a bunch of heads of the industry are Jewish and that Jews control the world. So it's not hard to believe he might believe that, but we'll see.
People get in the way. That's what the market does. They get in the way. The diamonds are infinite, but people make a market out of it and try to charge more. They make diamonds our girl's best friend. You see what I'm saying? They make the Twix bigger. They trying to make us fat. You know what I mean?
The Twix
People who
bigger.
resent your success based on some things you've said they disagree with.
That's the whole thing. They got the right to their opinion. I got the right to my opinion. You understand what I'm saying? We all have the rights to our opinions, but so many people will lose their jobs, lose their careers for taking the steps that we took. You know, we
For
went
being
down for like a
anti-Semitic,
year and a
that's the
half.
step that they
You know,
took.
people think that I got, kicked out of Adidas for the tweet. We were having problems before. They were stealing my designs. They still trying to sue me. It's like, get right.
Right.
Get right. Be honest. Y'all gonna send me $100 million a year, then say that I misallocated the marketing. I was the marketing. Look at where y'all at now. Look at where we at right now. Y'all want to play? Gonna have me nap on the board. These companies, Gap, Balenciaga, they just want to use the celebrities and have us be like the polo man on the top of the horse. And everybody knows. Everybody felt what I felt. You know what I'm saying? I even said the apology, and they still fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? I said apology.
Look,
Some of the
I'm
stuff I
sorry,
was
but
saying
once you say I love Jesus, I don't think like an Instagram apology is gonna be enough. I'm pretty sure it was like an Instagram story apology. Like I don't think that's going to be enough just to be like, guys, I messed up. After saying I love Hitler, I don't think an Instagram apology is gonna be enough. I don't think like a YouTuber shitty apology is gonna be enough.
It's true. So until y'all come up and say, yo, what he was saying, some of that was true, then go ahead with all that.
Do you take back any of the anti-Semitic stuff you might have said?
Black people can't be anti-Semitic. We are Jew.
Well,
You understand what I'm saying? We are Jew.
I think
So cool out. Until you do your facts, until you really do the facts with the fake indoctrination that y'all pull into the schools and all that, you know what I'm saying?
I love how he's telling this guy to chill out, but like he's just rambling, he's yapping. Just continue to go on. And here's the thing. Like, God, I miss like old school chaotic Kanye, like the Kanye that would literally run from one side of the stage to the next, just full on sprint. Like that's the kind of chaotic energy that Kanye had. That was really good with his music. That was really good with his presentation. Just this really out of the box, very entertaining. But this is just sad. It's just sad.
We're not following y'all rules.
I mean, just like calling DEFCON on Jews and that's like, do you take back any of that sort of more extreme stuff?
You know
said?
what? For all the kids that love me, all the Jewish kids that love me, I'm sorry if y'all had to hear a grown-up conversation with us screaming at each other. But we got to a point where something needed to happen.
Who's the other person? Who's the other person in this argument that you're having? Jewish people? Who? Like, I don't know.
Something needed to be said. Somebody needed to say something. Now, if you're in an argument with somebody, you're not going to say everything the right way. But it got to a point where y'all ain't going to just keep running, start calling me bizarre and impressed for all these years. I got to a point, how many more times y'all going to call me crazy? How many more times y'all going to give me fake medication that makes me fat off of a misdiagnosis when I really have slight signs of autism from the car accident? But then y'all gave...
Is he saying he got autism from a car accident? Oh my god. Oh god. I don't think it should. I think it's pretty well. I don't think it's really hard to look at Kanye and a lot of the way that he acts from like even years ago to now even to say like he definitely has some mental issues. He definitely needs stuff like medication or therapy to work out. Like even when did the car accident take place? That's the thing. 2002. So it was okay. So like early 2000s. But even then, even if it wasn't like I didn't know about the car accident. I thought it was like when he like started bringing it up. He started bringing it up a lot when he started really being anti-Semitic when and talking about his mental health. So I was like, is it something recent? I honestly didn't know about the car crash. But like, you can't get autism from that. You can definitely get brain damage. You can definitely like, it could definitely affect you, but it can't give you autism.
You say whatever, just give them that bipolar medication. Y'all try to kill the superheroes, but we here, we alive. You know what I'm saying?
People calling you crazy and misinformed.
Palestinians?
What'd you say?
Your thoughts on the Palestinians?
I don't have enough information on that. I'm straight up from south side of Chicago, born in Atlanta. I don't have enough information.
I love that it's just like, he is very much like, he's full anti-Semitic. He's like, fuck Jews, very, anti-Semitic. But as soon as like, wasn't he also like, talking about like Benjamin Netanyahu a lot when he like was first coming out with like his very anti-Semitic rhetoric? But now it's just like as soon as the whole Palestinian discussion comes into play, he's just like, I don't have enough information about that, and he deflects here too, where it's just like, oh, I'm worried about my people, the people in Chicago who are getting killed. He's talking about abortions, by the way. It's just like he doesn't even really care about that. Does he really? Because he's not doing anything about it, as far as I know. Like, is he really doing anything about it? Probably not. Like, it's just, I don't know. This is gross. But it's just, I'm like, feel like I don't know. Maybe it's best that he doesn't talk about the Palestinian conflict because the last thing we need is for a bunch of Zionists to be like, look, Kanye supports the Palestinian, Kanye supports Hamas. He's anti-Semitic, just like every Palestinian and every Palestinian sympathizes. Like, it's probably best that he actually doesn't talk about the subject. Probably for the best to keep him out of that. But yeah, we might as well just end it here. But yeah, this is really what I talk about. Fantano getting flack for this, for refusing to review anything by this man is just dumb. I have no idea. Like, I want him to get better. And it's not coming from like a fan perspective. I always want anyone to get better. Obviously, he has a lot of deep mental issues. I don't think, even though I do believe that even if he does get mental help and does get better, it's gonna take a lot for people like his public reception to get better. Because the only positive responses that he gets anymore is from his fan base and like his cult like fan base. But like, it's gonna take a lot of work. Yeah, that's where I'm just gonna leave it off, at least with the Kanye stuff for now.